At last, Robert has sent me out to look at an electric motorbike, and I've come to Stockholm in Sweden, the home of CAKE bikes. Welcome to Fully Charged. Albin, that looks so much fun. The power that you're generating to come out those turns is just incredible, because I know the bike's quite light for the amount of power it's got. So how long has CAKE been going?
So we started, or we produced our first bike in early 2018, or launched our first bike in early 2018. So it's almost 2.5 years from now. And it's the bike you see here, and the bike we have been riding at the track today. And now, 2.5 years later, we have actually 6 models on the market.
Okay. What was the ethos, what was the motivation behind starting the company?
So we found out that it's a gap between, it's a gap to fill with this bike. This is just between a motorbike and a bicycle. Yeah. So we got all the e-bikes and electric motorbikes or motorcycles, but this is just between. So we have developed all components from scratch to support the electric drivetrain, keep the weight low, and fill this gap between a bicycle and a motorcycle. We found out pretty quick that bicycle parts are too weak and motorcycle parts are too heavy. So we have reinforced everything and built it our own way to get this bike at only 69 kilos actually.
69 kilos? Yeah. So the power to weight ratio must be incredible.
Yeah, it is.
So and this is of all the bikes you do, this is your sort of flagship bike. Yeah, this is the Kalk OR. So tell me about this bike.
Yeah, so it's only 69 kilos, and as I said, all components are developed from scratch to support the electric drivetrain. It's direct drive, so no transmission, no gearing, to keep as less moving parts in the engines as possible, to make to keep the maintenance low. It's super easy to ride, everyone can ride it. You have adjustable ride modes from 1 to 3, which 1 is the easiest mode and 3 is the most powerful mode.
What would you say an equivalence of bike?
So usually we say it's like a 250 up to 3rd gear. So the top speed isn't there, but the torque is definitely there. And the street legal version, the Kalk OR, is equal to 125 or certified to a 125cc bike. Okay. So there are a few differences between this bike and a conventional combustion engine bike, in that there's no gears, no clutch, there's nothing for your left foot to do. Nope. There's no rear brake for your right foot. The rear brake is where the clutch would be. Yeah, on the left side. And the front brake's still in the same place. Yeah. Okay. But that's gonna take a little bit of getting used to. For someone who's used to normal bikes, the fact that there's no clutch, but also you get used to it pretty fast. Yeah. We did a race last year with a really good enduro rider, Robert Kvarnström, and he first said that he wants a foot brake because we have a foot brake on the street legal version. But then after a few more tests, he said that I can go on the race with the left rear brake because I like it as much as the foot brake. So it's just to get used to it more. Yeah. Right, now for the best bit. Albin, how to make it go? Yeah, so this is the ride modes. 1 is for beginners, it's super easy and gentle to you. 2 is a little bit more powerful, and 3 is full torque, full acceleration, and you reach top speed of 80 km/h. The braking modes, 1 is no engine brake at all, like a bicycle. 2 is like a 2-stroke, a little bit of engine brake, and number 3 is like a 4-stroke, so full engine brake. Okay. And braking modes 2 and 3 are also Regen, so you get power back to the battery.
Now the Kalk OR is your flagship
Yes.
bike, but it's not the only one that CAKE do.
No, so now 2.5 years later we have actually 6 bikes on the market. We got the street legal version of the Kalk OR, which is the Kalk and the Kalk Ink and the Kalk Ink SL. The inks are pretty much the same bike, but they are black and they are a little bit heavier with another suspension, not Orleans, and other wheels and tires, which makes them a little bit cheaper as well. And then we got the ÖSA, that is more utility bike, a workbench on wheels.
Yeah.
So it's a clamp-on system. It's a big beam that you can clamp on, pretty much whatever you want. Baskets, ski racks, surf racks, and bring what you need.
I like the analogy of it being a workbench on 2 wheels.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. It's a really nimble little machine, even on a tight little circuit like this. But I'm going to swap this one for the road legal version and go and take a tour of Stockholm. So all that power is coming from the battery here. So what's the lifespan of it? How long does it take to charge? How long is it going to last? Is it changeable?
Yeah, so you can change the battery in 90 seconds. It's only 2 screws under the seat. Okay. Remove the seat and then you can take out the battery. So it's super easy. You can ride for about 3 hours in one charge, and it takes 2.5 hours to recharge it from 0 to 100 in a standard outlet, 220 or 110. The street legal versions we say can go about 86 kilometers, and the ÖSA models goes from 100 kilometers to 120 kilometers.
And the final thing I want to talk about, because I love this detail, because it kind of shows the sort of conservation mind behind these sort of products, is the tyres.
Yeah.
Which don't look much different, but there's a secret behind them.
Yeah, so it's our own tyres. As I said, everything is developed from scratch by us. So this tire is actually really kind to the surface you ride on. It doesn't rip up the trails unnecessarily much, and it's still good traction because of the good power delivery from the controller. So it's called Trailsavers. So save the trails, but yeah.
Yeah. So the idea is to reduce basically erosion of the trails,
yes,
which is great. So that was the Kalk and the street legal version of the off-road bike. And what makes it street legal is a few things. It's got things like lights, indicators, mirrors, it's got a kickstand, it's got license plate at the back. But the big difference for me is the speed. So this bike will top out at 100 kilometers an hour, 62 miles an hour, whereas the off-road bike will top out at 80 kilometers an hour, 50 miles an hour. And the reason for the extra speed is it means that this bike can keep up with traffic and not be an obstacle on the highways and the motorways of Europe and North America. And how that's done is interesting. It's the same basic bike, but the rear sprocket is slightly small on this bike, so you lose a bit of acceleration, but you gain in top speed. But crucially, for those who might want to use this bike commuting at weekdays and then ragging it around the forest at weekends, all these road legal bits come off really easily, and you can turn it into basically that bike there. But for me, bikes like these are for getting out in the wilds and exploring. So I'm going to hop off this and hop onto that and take it for a ride around the Scandinavian forests. Right, so most importantly, what is the CAKE Kalk like to ride? Well, out on the road, it's beautiful, it spawns really well, it's perfect for commuting around town. Out on the open road, getting it up and past 60 miles an hour is not a struggle in the third riding mode. Yeah, admittedly, it does feel, if you're used to big, fat 1000cc road bikes, you'll feel a little bit insecure and a little bit unstable, but that's just the nature of a lightweight bike like this. And then out here in the environment it's really built for, what's it like? Well, it's massive fun and I really like it. Having mostly ridden like 250cc combustion engine bikes out in places like this in the past, this it's just so much easier, it really is. I mean, you haven't got a clutch, you haven't got gears, so you have to, which one or two things less to worry about. So riding over this sort of terrain it's much easier, and the lightness of the bike actually helps a lot in dealing with the sort of the off-road nature of tracks like these. But for me, the biggest noticeable difference between this bike and others I've ridden in the past, combustion engine bikes, is that software that Albin mentioned before, which really helps with the control at the low speeds. The throttle is so smooth at those low speeds, so picking your way through this, just doing a few miles an hour, is actually really easy. Whereas with a combustion bike, when you try to feather the throttle and the clutch in first gear, you know, it's a lot more difficult. And that's, I think, one of the biggest things that makes this bike attractive for me for taking off-road. That and the fact that it only weighs 69 kilos, so for someone who falls off a lot and therefore has to pick it up a lot, that's a bit of a bonus as well. So yeah, I can see why bikes like these are making a big impact on the market in Europe and North America. So these are great off-road electric motorbikes, and actually one you can use for commuting and on the roads. They've been on the market the last couple of years, and that market really had a gap which these filled. Yes, you've got at the lower end with the cheaper bikes that are lighter weight and less high performance, like the Kuberg, like the Delstaff, like the Stealth. And then at the higher end, the big heavyweight bikes, 120, 150, 190 kilogram bikes like the KTM Freerider or the Zero FX. And then in the middle sat the CAKE. Fast, light, and I've got to say fun to ride. There is a new bike in the market from Super Soco, the TC Max, which is almost in the same sort of vein as the Kalk, so we'll have to see how that performs in the future. But for now, this is champion of that market. For me personally, it's the exquisite build and design that I absolutely love. If Apple made off-road electric motorbikes, they'd make these ones. Of course, it's a big thank you to our Patreon supporters and our YouTube members, without whose support episodes like this would not be possible. If that's something you might be interested in, please take a look at the links below. Of course, you can also support us by liking and subscribing to the channel. And apart from that, as always, if you have been, Thanks for watching.